Hey, it's your boy Jack Skinner here, and if you haven't noticed yet, I'm a fan of The Walking Dead, and I'm really happy and I'm really excited to say that The Walking Dead premieres this Sunday on AMC, and I'm like living for that because I love The Walking Dead. I can't wait to see what happens. So yeah, this video, along with other future videos about this season of The Walking Dead, is going to be about like what I feel is going to happen in the next episode / recapping the previous episode. And obviously we don't really have a previous episode in season 8 to recap yet, so this video is just going to be a prediction video. So yeah, so for those of you who don't know about what's going to happen with the All Out War storyline, it is a awesome badass storyline that takes place between Negan and everybody else, basically. Everybody else being the Saviors, Oceanside, Alexandria, and the Hilltop. And that's going to be really interesting how that battle turns out. I'm excited for that because like it's just going to be awesome and badass, I hope. And a bunch of action scenes. Ooh, I will be living for that. So yeah, let's dive into it. Here we go. So the first initial battle here is the actual Sanctuary battle that takes place where Rick basically plans on going and trying to negotiate with Negan to see if he can actually be like, yo, can we like just stop this whole like we give you all of our food and then we're like starving to death and we give you everything and we starve to death, all that sort of stuff. Can we just sort of stop that and like rebuild the world so we're all equal and have like a trading society and everything? Obviously Negan's like, oh heck no, and then he's like I'm just gonna threaten everybody to kill Gregory, but he doesn't, he just throws him off. So yeah, that's basically Rick and everybody else, being the Kingdom and the Hilltop, join together. They're like, okay, we're gonna attack the Saviors. We're going to threaten them and show them our army in order to show them the attempt of a new world. That's going to be a really interesting battle that will take place. I'm excited for that. Iconic moments where you have like the people like everybody in the army standing together, being united as one. And I'm excited for that because that's just such a great moment in the series alone. Along with that, you have this great like speaking role with Rick, and it's like, I hope that what they do is they sort of transcend it back to when Rick was talking to the governor and trying to negotiate peace in the prison, and obviously that didn't happen, but I hope they sort of transcend those moments where whether they either use the same shots or the same dialogue or like similar dialogue and stuff, because that'd be really interesting to see if there was some kind of dynamic between this being the 100th episode of The Walking Dead. I'm excited for that though. Moving forward, we do, like, the one thing that's good about this first initial attack is that it does open up all the other storylines that will most likely happen this season. And I'm excited for that because it's like there are so many different storylines there. Obviously, this being All Out War, there's going to be multiple amounts of different attacks and kidnappings and everything. That's going to be exciting. So yeah, I think what's probably going to happen is we're going to have the All Out War, the Sanctuary attack that will trap Negan with the giant walker herd that has been persuaded by like by Tara and Daryl and crew, and Carol and stuff. But basically, I think what's going to happen is they're going to like sort of push them to the Sanctuary. Sanctuary's going to get trapped, just like it happened in the comics. I think that's gonna be a really good moment. What I think is probably gonna happen is that Father Gabriel, he'll have his own storyline, at least for this half of the season, if he doesn't die. I'll explain why I think he may die this season at the end of the video. Along with that, all the other death theories / what I think is going to happen with a lot of these characters, too. Different other series of attacks, which will most likely happen in episode 2, maybe leading into episode 3 as well. Those two attacks being the attacks on the outposts, meaning that Negan does have other outposts. We saw this in season 6. Where our Alexandrians did attack the outpost, successfully conquered it and everything. But that's what basically happens, because in order to break this system and everything, in order to break and change this new world, you have to not just attack Negan, but attack the other savior outposts. And that's what happens, is that we see the kingdom and their people and the knights there. They go and they attack the outpost. Obviously that doesn't turn out well, and that sort of turns into a bit of a slaughter in certain aspects. Then you see Rick, and he goes and he attacks the other outpost, and most likely what's going to happen there is that they're going to take over the outpost with minimal casualties. But one person that will die will most likely be Eric, maybe Aaron as well. I don't think though Aaron, I feel like those two attacks on the outpost, one will be a slaughter. That's why I think maybe maybe Morgan or Carol may die. I'll explain a bit why after, at the end. But yeah, that is a total slaughter. Obviously, Shiva, R.I.P., will most likely die. She had a short life, but was a beautiful symbol for that sanctuary, for the kingdom itself. I think the thing is, after these two outpost attacks, it's you sort of have to think what's probably going to happen here. Obviously, we're going to see a retaliation by Negan. I hope that we do get to see the attack, maybe an attack on the kingdom. If not, we see some kind of takeover or attack by Negan on Alexandria or the hilltop. The hilltop, though, we'll most likely see later. But moving forward, though, I think the one thing that's going to be really interesting to see here is how are the Oceanside community and the Scavengers community, are they going to be influenced and infused in this season? Personally, I don't think the Oceanside people are, and let me tell you a bit why. I feel like they weren't incorporated well enough into the series in order to justify their reasonings on why they should be attacked, or why they should be included into this army. But moving forward, I feel like the Scavengers, 100%, they are going to be in this season. Obviously, we see some footage there where it looks like Rick's going to probably get captured by them. And that's going to be really exciting, and I'm excited for that, just not being because the attack, the Scavengers are so weird. They're not in the comics, so we don't really know what's going to happen there, but I feel like their loyalties are sort of everywhere. They're not with these people, they're not with the saviors, they're not with Alexandria, they're not really with anybody. It doesn't really feel like. It feels like they're on their own, and it really depends on how the greater good is reflected on. It really depends on how. It really depends if the greater good, is with the saviors, or the greater good would be with the Alexandrians and the free world. But yeah, that's all I'm saying there. But I feel like that's going to be an interesting storyline. I like Jadis. I think she's a really interesting character, and the society that they built there is pretty interesting. I hope that they dive into that a bit more throughout this season. And make it really interesting, and maybe see how the Jadis and the Scavengers are influenced by Negan and everything, and how they're sort of part of the saviors, because they don't really look like them, they don't really seem like them, but it sort of seems a bit more like an alliance rather than a control by Negan himself. But yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. What else? So yeah, we're going to have what I hope is that the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead is going to be the attack on Alexandria. Obviously, initially, there is a huge attack on Alexandria that Negan has. He uses grenades and everything, and basically the safe zone goes up in flames. And it's a beautiful attack sequence that I hope that we get to see, because obviously there are a lot of casualties. People get bitten, people get blown up, people's legs get blown up and everything, and I'm not sure how that sequence is going to happen. But I'm excited to see how it works out. We have so many characters right now. It's obvious to see who may die, who may not die, who may turn sides, and who may not. And I'm really excited for that. What I hope with this whole attack sequence is they make it the mid-season finale. Maybe do it what they do with No Way Out, where they have it sort of as a normal day in Alexandria, and then there's this whole attack sequence right in the last 10 minutes, then this mid-season premiere, boom, attack sequence. But yeah, I'm excited for that sequence. That's basically, like, they basically create a war zone in the safe zone. So this final attack on this hilltop is just epic too. It's one of the epic sequences that, like, basically tears down half the hilltop. It's an awesome attack sequence that takes place. It is at night, so I'm excited to see if they do keep it at night. Obviously, night shoots are a pain in the butt and everything. Lots of planning, lots of different ways that they'd have to plan about how lighting would work, but I feel like that would be such a great sequence to see on this series, because it's like you have the whole like, you don't really get a lot of attack sequences, especially one on the hilltop where it's such an open area. I'm excited to see how that may work, because you have like a large, like, parts of the walls get torn down, weapons get get rubbed in walker guts, and it's just a full-on attack sequence. I feel like that would be a really good sequence to see, whether I hope it's not just full-on guns. Like, I hope to see a lot more like knife-on-knife action, or like fists and stuff like that. Stuff where like you see maybe like Jesus come in and like fight a lot more like a badass, and like I'm excited for that. And yeah, like I feel like that final attack on the hilltop is so crucial, because it shows what us as humanity have to view, and what we have to see, and what we have to be in. And it shows a lot for the series alone, because it evolves like the types of battles and everything in the show itself. So lastly, like, the final attack on the actual on the actual war itself is a lot more subdued. It's a lot more quiet and everything. It's a lot more between Negan and Rick themselves. Obviously, these characters in this final fight sort of develop a bit more as characters, since it's this huge, like, it's sort of like a fist-on-fist battle, the war of words to be said. I'm excited for that because Negan is played so well by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and I'm excited to see how the contrast between Negan and Rick are face to face, because we haven't really seen that, where it's like the two of them are yelling at each other, because like last season Rick was so dominant, or like Negan was so dominant to Rick, and it's like we never really saw Rick fight back initially. So I'm excited to see how that's going to happen this season. I'm excited for that final battle, because it's not really a battle, it's not really an attack, it's more of a war on words that really is a two-person battle here. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that happens, and I'm excited to see if they do sort of preview the time jump that happens after the war itself. So yeah. See, for me, the way I look at people and how they die and everything is I look at the fact of what are they going to be like come season 9. What will be their purpose in creating this new world? And I don't think, though, I think Aaron has a lot more of a purpose going further in this TV series. I'll explain a bit why right now. That being because although Eric will most likely die, and that will be sad, just like he did in the comics, I feel like Eric has so much more of a purpose coming into the future of this series. This being because they are, spoiler alert, by the end of this series, this season, we're gonna have a new world starting to be rebuilt. And the one person that was really crucial to the beginning of the introduction to Alexandria was Aaron. That being because he sort of brought them in and introduced them into introduced our crew, like Rick Grimes and Michonne and everybody like that, into the actual Alexandrians. And that's what's going to be really interesting, is that he needs to be in this world because he needs to introduce everybody into the new world. He needs to be a voice for change, because that's what he was doing before the war against Negan started initially. And that's why I'm really excited for. That's what I really like about this. Moving forward, though, I feel like they really need to start I hope that they start preparing for what the new world's going to be like. They don't just sort of end it and then make next season like a whole explanation of how this may happen. I hope that they develop these characters well enough. More specifically, like people like Maggie and Jesus, and then Rick and then Negan a lot. Those four characters, they develop them a lot more, because obviously Maggie is a huge character in this upcoming, in this next issue coming up of the comics, more specifically the next season and the next few seasons of The Walking Dead. I want to see her be a lot more of a leader and show her leading ability, because I feel with that, I hope that they develop Negan a lot, because Negan's character changes so much in this in the time period where it's like he's not cocky or anything. He's still cocky and everything, but it's a bit different. His character's a lot different there, and I hope that they do something there that would really remedy that, so it's not some big jump or some big like shock to the audience that's viewing it. So I feel like Tara may die this season. I don't really know. I don't really care how she dies, because she wasn't a character in the comics, but I feel like she may die because she's not really dependent on anyone. Like, obviously she is a very badass like character and everything, and I feel like everybody says that she's gonna die this season, but I feel like every season, but I feel like she may die this season, because really going into the future of this world and everything, I feel like maybe she is a character that doesn't need to be needed necessarily, besides the fact of like her dependency as a representative of the people of Oceanside. Even though she doesn't represent Oceanside, she just sort of found them. I feel like that would be an important thing for her to stay there, but I also feel like there are other people that could really be a representative of that. So yeah, that's how I feel about Tara. I feel like she may die some way, somehow. Obviously, we're going to probably see Eric die because he got shot in the head during the Outpost attack. Shiva most likely will die because there is a like in the Outpost attack. We may see some other people outside of that in the kingdom that are sort of like extra characters that aren't really developed well enough in the series yet, that may die. But speaking of that, speaking of the kingdom, first person who I think will probably die in the kingdom most likely will be Morgan. I feel like either Morgan or Carol most likely this season will die. This being because I feel like the dynamics between the two of them, the dynamics between Carol and Morgan are very different from each other right now. The way that Morgan died in the actual comics was in battle, in the actual like No Way Out storyline, where like the Herd invaded Alexandria. I think that'd be a really interesting point for him to be him sort of either getting his leg blown off, sort of like how Heath did. I feel like in this world right now, in the idea of battle and everything, although he does use his spear and everything and his like staff to fight, I feel like that could be one of his biggest downfalls right now, is like he's really a hand-to-hand combat person, whereas like right now a lot of people are like based off of bullets and everything. So yeah, that's the one point I'll say about him. I feel like he may die because of that. I also feel like there is a dynamic between Daryl and Carol that will happen this season that would cause Morgan to die, and it could cause Carol into a downward spiral even further. So yeah, I'm excited for that. Moving forward, I feel like Father Gabriel here, he's most likely going to die. I love Father Gabriel as a character. I wish that they dived more deeply into him and like sort of the Christian religion and how the apocalypse gets viewed in his perspective, because he being a priest and everything. I like this character. I genuinely hope that they sort of dive a lot more deeper into him, and it's like into his like him being sort of a bit more of a psychopath and like trying to kill everybody and everything. I'd be really excited for that, because there'd be such a great evolution there of his character. But I feel like what I see with the footage through the promos and the trailers and everything, I think that he may die. Obviously, there's a character that goes in and breaks into the sanctuary, gets captured, and dies. I feel like he may be that character, but I feel like they moved around the comics material a lot in the TV series, so I don't know if that may actually still be relevant, and that still may happen. So yeah, I think that Father Gabriel most likely could die. I like his character though. I like his arc. I hope that they just like push him so much more and sort of like investigate a lot of the Christian religion. I loved his character in the comics, sort of being the funeral director in a way in this world. And yeah, who else do I think may die? That's a really tough question. Obviously, we said a lot of people are going to die this season. Obviously, we have that story arc with Dwight and Jesus. I'm excited for that. I don't think Jesus is going to die. That being because Jesus is a monumental character in this point in time and come the future of this show. He's such a great character there. I like Tom Payne's portrayal of Jesus, and I hope that they show him as a powerful character in this in the arc that he is, being the messenger and being the communicator, being the badass fighter that he is with his like kung fu action that he does, and like his hand-to-hand combat is insane. The next person I think may die would be Carol. I know it's weird to put like Carol in this situation, being that she's taking over Michonne's storyline majorly, but I feel like that'd be an important character to kill off for many different reasons. Obviously, she has so many connections here in The Walking Dead itself. Like, she has a relationship with Rick, she has a relationship with Daryl, she has a relationship with she has a relationship with King Ezekiel. Like, so many important relationships right now that it'd be important to kill her off, maybe to further unite people. Now, I feel like she may be one of those characters that gets reunited with Daryl and has like a Daryl Carol like comeback and everything. The one way I hope that she dies is that there's like a chair, like say that she's walking through like a forest or something, and like there's about to be a big battle, and she looks down and she sees a Cherokee rose and she picks it, or she looks at it, and then she gets shot, and like shot through the head, obviously. But I feel like that would be a great moment for her character, like say getting shot, because I feel like that'd be like a heartwarming moment. I feel like that death would call back to season 2, because like season 2 is all was about the whole Cherokee Rose reference. It would be referenced back to Daryl, referenced back to Rick, and like it'd be really interesting if Daryl or King Ezekiel was there and they brought back the flower, and like that sort of be a reference to them, that like she died and like the flower had blood on it or something. That's just my opinion. That's how I'd sort of want her to die. But yeah, I'm not sure who else. I feel like Rosita will probably be safe because she was safe in the comics. I'd love to see her progress a lot more. Michonne obviously is going to be safe because she's a fan favorite. Daryl's going to be safe because he's a fan favorite. Carl's definitely going to be safe because he has such a great arc coming up in the comics. Negan's going to be safe, sorta. He's going to like nearly die, but like he's going to be safe. I feel like Stephen Ogg's character may die just because it's like we have Dwight sort of there as like the opposition to him in a sense, where it's like Dwight's playing two sides, where Stephen Ogg's character, which is, I love his acting, it's so well done, it's so creepy, it's so authoritative and everything, but and I love like the way he smiles and like the mustache and everything going there, but I feel like he may die because it's like he's sort of Negan's right hand man at the moment, and if he could get him killed, Stephen Ogg's character, then Dwight could go in and really manipulate Negan in that sense. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Jack here, and I forgot a few characters, approximately 3, that I didn't talk about yet. So I'm just gonna fill you in right now. So firstly, I feel like Enid is such a great character on The Walking Dead right now. Her evolution as a character, being an outsider and sort of being just using Alexandria really as a shelter for protection and for food and for survival. Going from that to now a functioning member in society herself, and it's just a really beautiful aspect there. I really am excited for that. I'm really happy for her character. I love how they used her and Maggie's relationships in order to really implement such a stronger bond there. It also really implements a greater relationship with the whole idea of her being such a stronger member of the community, having someone there in the hilltop to speak on her behalf. And that's what I think I really like about Enid. I think she's a great character in that aspect. But moving forward, I think Eugene is such a different character. Obviously, in the comics, we see him. He's on the side of the Alexandrians in the hilltop and everything. He's there against Negan, and in the show, he's actually there for Negan. He obviously gets kidnapped in season 7. Gotta get my numbers right here on which seasons are which, but I feel like Eugene is really interesting right now. Obviously, in the comics, he is living very far past this point in the comics, but I feel like he actually may be a character that could die. This being that they've changed his character up so much that it really could impact the end game of this character himself. Obviously, he did get kidnapped by Negan and everything, and we haven't really seen him make bullets yet, which is something that I really want to see right now. Obviously, in this war where we're having people being shot by bullets and everything, I really like to see that dynamic where it's like Negan says something to Eugene where it's like, oh, so yeah, you're a betrayal, you betray on your friends or something with the bullets that you make. It's like you're killing your friends here. Or like at least some kind of way that can be shown, because really that's such a big metaphor there that I would say. Because essentially, yes, he sort of has betrayed a lot of people that he was previously aligned with, but it's like he's sort of trying to survive for himself. I feel like he's a really interesting character. I hope he doesn't die, but it's also like he's always been one of those characters that has had a will to live, but has also very much hid behind a lot of people. But he has actually had a lot of love with other characters. Obviously, we have Rosita really clinging on to him right now. We see that in season 7, where she wanted to go and rescue Eugene from the sanctuary, because she felt like he was a character that was that like she really needed to care about right now, and I think she felt maybe her move with shooting the gun into Lucille was one that was detrimental, and she felt responsible for. And I think that's one reason why she really has a connection with Eugene right now. But yeah, and then moving forward, lastly, I think if this season was a song, the melody of the song would be Jesus and Dwight. And that's the one character I haven't really gotten to talk about. I feel like Dwight and Jesus are the two most monumental characters at this point in time. And let me tell you a bit why. We have this dynamic right now with Dwight where it's like he's betraying him for the obvious reasons, and it's been constructed so well in the story arcs. That's the one thing I'll give season 7 a really good thumbs up for, is that the fact that they're able to construct these characters so well, or at least construct Dwight's character so well in this world, that he's gone from betraying Negan to being a part of Negan, and then obviously having Sherry, or basically Dwight's like wife/girlfriend, leave, and it's like there's such a beautiful arc with that, and he has some really beautiful relationships with the people on the Savior side and also with the people on the Alexandrian side, and I'm really excited for that, to see how that's going to turn out. And yeah, I feel like though he's going to be the melody along with Jesus, because obviously Jesus has such a great communication skills. He is a spy a bit in the comics, and he has really interesting martial arts skills, which is just a side note that I like about Jesus. But I feel like Jesus is such a great character in The Walking Dead, this being because his ability to be a part of these different communications between these different communities, and the ability to bring people together is his strong suit here. And coming into a war where people need to be united, that's where he needs to come in and be such a strong character, and that needs to be shown as that. And then also as well, Dwight needs to be a really interesting character. Obviously, his trust between Negan and the Saviors versus the Alexandrians is one that gets really tested in this situation. In a point of stress like this, where you have a war going on, where people are dying and people are fighting because the world is trying to change, that's what I really like about him, is like his ability to really be under the knife here of like, is he going to do it? Is he not going to do it? Like, what's his sort of situation here? How is he, like, is he going to betray Negan and help the Alexandrians out? Or is he gonna like betray the Alexandrians in his deal and everything? Which could happen, but most likely isn't. Like, obviously in the comics this doesn't happen, and there are subtle cues that are being made into this. And that's something I'm really excited for, is like seeing those subtle cues and seeing how far they're willing to invest into Dwight as a character. because obviously his character is very important right now in the comics. And having that communication there, obviously trust, especially with someone who was a savior, is one that is can be seen as false, and I hope that they do portray that as well. So yeah, overall, I think Dwight and Jesus are the two most important characters, being the connective tissue between all the other plot, and I hope that they portray that really well. But I hope they also don't move away from the Rick and Negan fight that goes on obviously throughout the whole All Out War storyline. So yeah. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Jack Skinner. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to hit that like button, hit that like button. If you want to subscribe, my subscription button is right here. Along with that, if you want to let me know your thoughts about this season, feel free to let me know down below. And what do you think about The Walking Dead? Who do you think is going to die? Who do you think is going to survive? And everything around that. Remember, we are The Walking Dead here. My name is Jack Skinner. Thank you so much for watching. You have a great day.